What's up, everyone? Chris M. Walker here. Welcome back to another episode of the Limitless Podcast. I believe this puts us on episode 6, which by my consistency standards is a hell of a run. Let's get into it. In my businesses in Legiit and in Superstar SEO, I've had the privilege of working with a bunch of different business owners from a bunch of different industries in a bunch of different niches, if you prefer, verticals, whatever. And, I've helped a lot of them. I've been unable to help some of them in some cases, just to be completely transparent. But what that's given me is some really good insight into why some people plateau, particularly at the 6-figure level. And when I say 6-figure, I mean 100 to 500 grand a year, as opposed to getting up to the 7-figure level, which $1 million plus a year. And it usually comes down to one of three things, or all of these three things, but it's usually some combination of these three things that we're going to talk about today. And hopefully after you listen to this, you'll be able to make some progress in finding ways to solve them so you can kind of remove the bottlenecks in your business. This is for people in the $10,000 a month to $40,000 to $50,000 a month range. That's a level that a lot of businesses plateau at. And after spending as much time with as many different business owners as I have, then I've been able to figure out what a lot of them are lacking, what a lot of them aren't doing right, and where a lot of them are getting stuck. It usually comes down to three things. The first one is not having a predictable lead flow system, meaning not having a way to consistently and regularly and predictably get customers at a profitable rate, new customers at a profitable rate. The second one is having no systems in place to do fulfillment and implementation, or to get whatever it is that they do to the person that bought it from them. They don't have a reliable system. For lack of a better term, they don't have reliable systems and procedures. And then the third one is they don't know who they are. And what I mean by that is they don't have a goal or a vision, or they don't have a clear goal or a clear vision or a clear direction on their company, their business, and what they're trying to accomplish. It's usually just try to make enough money to make it to next month. So those are the three things that I found. So let me go into each of them a little bit more. So the big one is usually not a consistent lead flow or a consistent lead generation process to get new business in the door. This one is the most common at businesses from $0 to $10,000 a month, but also from $10,000 a month up to $60,000, $70,000 a month. And they have found a way to make a business that works for them, but it's unpredictable. So they base their entire business on word of mouth and referrals. A lot of businesses are actually proud of that, particularly I find with like brick and mortar type businesses that are proud of, I never had to spend a dime on marketing or advertising because I get it through word of mouth and referrals. Well, that's great. You should have that too, but it's not something you can measure. It's not something you can predict. It's not something you can scale. And it's something that can go away really easily with one bad review, or one time that you fuck up and do a bad job for somebody, or if the economy goes to crap, or if, the government's close our businesses again, whatever it is. Word of mouth and referrals is not a good enough system to scale a business, and you're probably never going to be able to break into the 7-figure range with that. So what you need to do is have a predictable lead generation system. Now, any advice I give is, first of all, purely speculative and for entertainment purposes only, on the advice of counsel, but also it's most likely going to be based on digital marketing. I'm sure there are predictable methods of non-digital marketing out there. I don't have the experience with them to speak on them with authority, though. But for the digital, and again, it's going to depend on the business, but you need to have a system where you can put in $1 and get out 2 or 4 or 10 or whatever, and continually fill that funnel with people. My background is largely from SEO, but unfortunately, SEO is not ideal for that. Now, you should do that too. You should rank in Google Maps if you're a local business, or Google Business Profile if you're a local business, and you should rank in organic too, if that, just depending on which of those makes sense for your particular business. But that's also not predictable because it relies on people coming to you You need to do outbound marketing that you can, and then you need to optimize it so that you can consistently put $1 in and get $2 out, or in a perfect world, much more than that. That's usually going to mean paid advertising on whatever platform makes most sense for you. I would try them all, but I know people that have really crushed this on Facebook, YouTube, Google ads, and TikTok ads. Not so much with Twitter or other platforms, but that's kind of where you do that. You identify your target person, you target them with an ad, you give them a really easy way to book a call with you or come contact you or pay you right there online if that's the kind of business that you have. And you keep working on that until you make those ad costs cheaper and raise your prices until you can get a customer for $1. And it doesn't have to be $1. I'm saying it using that as an easy example, but until you can get a customer and make at least 2x on the investment. So if it costs you $100 to get a new customer, you're going to want to be able to make $200 from a customer, so you can continually feed that machine and continue to grow. And obviously, if you can make $1,000 on a customer that it cost $100 to acquire, that's even better. So setting up proper lead generation is part of the equation. And then the other part of that is being able to close them on sales. So make that process as simple as possible, make as few steps as possible for them to have to go through in order to work with you, in order to buy your product, to use your service, to do whatever it is that you do, whatever it is that you offer to customers and clients. That's in every business I talk to, even those in the business of doing that for other people, do not have reliable systems for that, in my experience. And that's why businesses often plateau at less than 7 figures, is they don't have a predictable system to grow and scale the business. You can't scale something without numbers, and you can't get numbers without having a predictable system. So that's number one. Now that could be a whole video on its own and a whole series on its own. So maybe it will be in the future. But then we move on to thing number 2, which is they don't have procedures for fulfillment. So for example, I am working with a social media agency right now who's done a great job let me back up. Whose job it was to handle the Instagram account for my personal brand, the Chris M. Walker brand, which I'll never not feel like a douche saying, but that's for another day. And they were basically supposed to do 3 things. They were supposed to create content, post content with effective captions, and do shout outs from big pages that help grow my brand to people that make sense to grow it too. And they've done a great job with the shout outs. They've done a horrible job in getting the content to me. That took over a week. And now it's been over a week, and they haven't, from that time when they did get it to me, and they haven't even posted any of it. And I've contacted them multiple times about it, and they haven't done it yet. So that's my point, is that they don't know how to do proper fulfillment. And that's very, very common in the internet marketing industry, unfortunately, but I'm sure it's the case in others as well. In fact, I know it's the case in others as well. So you need to have a system in place to deliver the thing that you do to your customer in an efficient, timely manner. And you need to have systems in place to onboard that customer, and systems in place to make sure that all the tasks get done by the right people, and just have a steady flow where it's kind of like an assembly line where you can feed that new customer in from step number 1, from the lead gen step, into step number 2, where it's the fulfillment step, and then out into making a happy customer. And so that's something that businesses really, really suck at, in my experience. And when I talk about systems, that's just one system that most of them don't have in place. They also don't have things in place to handle their accounting, their bookkeeping, their numbers, their whatever it is. They don't have any idea, and everything is just impulse driven, and let's deal with the problem right in front of us right away kind of thing. And you get sucked into this cycle where it's constantly putting out fires rather than planning and executing. And that's how businesses get stuck, because they can't optimize their time wisely. They can't identify things that are bucket number 2 or bucket number 1 things. And if you don't know what that is, check out my YouTube channel, or I'll post the video where I talked about that recently as a podcast as well. But basically, they're spending all their times in bucket number 1 and bucket number 2, and not on bucket number 3. And the business is broken that way, and they can't scale because they can't get their shit together, for lack of a better term. So that brings us to the third thing, and this one's a bit more abstract, but it's also important, is that there's no goal to the business other than to make money and to make it to next month. And that's why they get stuck. They don't have, when you have a North Star or I like to call it an end game or something that you're working towards that informs every decision you make in your business, you don't have a framework with which to make decisions, and your business just becomes a job that pays really well, hopefully. Pays really well, I should say. And that's really something a lot of businesses like to skip over, is the definition of who they are, what their goal is, what their vision is, what their North Star is, what their end game is, whatever label you want to put on it. You have to know what your business is about and what your goal with it is, beyond just to make money, beyond just the thing that you offer. You have to have a vision for it. And now, I know that may be hard that sounds grandiose, and if you are Elon Musk and you have Tesla, which is an AI company that's designed, you would argue that it's a car company, but it's really an AI company whose mission is to save humanity. That it's much easier to come up with something like that when you have a big company like that, as opposed to a local restaurant. But your goal with your Italian restaurant is to pass it on to the next generation of children, to keep it sustainable. Maybe it's to turn it into a global chain of Italian restaurants. Whatever it is, you have to have something. You know what I mean? So if you don't have a vision for it, you don't have a way to inform your decisions, and therefore you don't have a system. You don't have the systems from problem number 2 that I talked about, and you don't have a way to predictably get leads. Basically, it informs every other decision that you make. And if you don't have that, your business is broken. And that is something I see. Of the 3 of them, it's the one that's the most common, that people just started a business because they want to make some money or whatever motivated them. They don't think about what the point of that business is beyond just pay the bills, make money, and survive. So if you're watching this and you have a business, I hope you'll go back and listen to this and think about if any or all of these apply to you. Do you know your cost to acquire a customer? Do you know the lifetime value of your customer? Do you know what channel is most effective for getting new customers, and so on? And then for number 2, do you have systems in place to predictably deliver things to clients, to predictably do the operations of your business, to keep the day-to-day going without having to think about it every day and make decisions based on impulse and on current crises? And then, do you have a long-term vision or goal for your business, or are you just kind of out there flailing, making money? I hope you will take the time to think about your business and think about if those apply to you, and so on. And, just as a quick shout out, if you want help with that sort of thing, just let me know somehow and we'll see if we're a good fit. But that's what I got for you this week. I hope that this one went a little bit longer than the last few, but I think it's an important topic that bears really taking some time to think about. So I hope you enjoyed it. Wherever you're watching this, do me a favor, rate it, like it, share it, comment on it, whatever. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe and please like and please leave a comment. It really, really helps me out and keeps me motivated to keep doing these. So that's what I got for you today. Thanks a lot. I'll see you again next week. Peace.